Uh, okay. You know that feeling. Oh boy. Where you probably just watched the number one worst movie you ever saw. And it doesn't matter any genre. This is just the worst movie of all time. Period. And the worst movie to star so many A-list actors are that were paid to star in this or blackmailed, and directed by several directors. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you all the number one worst movie of all time, and that is called Movie 43. I just finished watching what I consider to be my most hated movie of all time, Worse Than Fear.com, Worse Than Freddy Got Fingered, worse than any other bad movie I ever saw. This is the number one worst movie ever made. And I'm going to get to why. Here's what the movie, first of all, here's what this movie is really about. 12 directors, including Peter Farrelly, Griffin Dunne, and Brett Ratner, contributed to this collection of outrageous spoofs and stories. A seemingly perfect man has an unusual blemish on his one word, and seemingly perfect man has an unusual blemish on his neck. Superheroes attending a speeding dating event. Two people on a blind date trying to break the ice with playing Truth or Dare. There's many other stories. I could just go on, but the main plot of this film, well, technically these two directors, played by Dennis Quaid and Greg Kinnear, well, in the actual version, trying to come up with a script to a film executive. However, the version I saw is the one where these two teenagers try to prank their older brother by breaking his laptop, but instead, and then they later both decide to find a movie called Movie 43, and will chaos ensues. But let's just name all the segments that are in this vile movie. Our first segment that plays is The Catch. And this one, believe it or not, stars two big-name actors, Hugh Jackman and Kate Winslet. Basically about this single woman who goes on a blind date with this guy named Davis, who has a pair of balls on his neck. Yeah, basically, let's put Hugh Jackman in a terrible movie and put a sack of balls on his neck to get a gross out laugh. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna get to. There's so many A-list celebrities, surprisingly, in this movie, but. And then there's Homeschooled, about these two parents that are played by couple Liev Schreiber and Naomi Watts, who apparently meet these two neighbors who basically haze, bully, ostracize, and give out detentions to their own teenage son who they homeschool. So, in a way, they're basically abusive parents. Yeah, and they even act gross around him too. They throw parties and exclude him. Samantha instigates Kevin's first kiss to her own son. And Robert reveals romantic feelings for his own son too. And you can just tell where this goes. And then there's one called The Proposition that stars former celebrity couple Chris Pratt and Anna Faris, where this woman wants her husband to shit on him. And so you all know where that. I think you all know where that goes. And there's one called Veronica. We're about this night shift grocery worker named Neil, whose ex-girlfriend Veronica comes in, and they begin arguing, which soon turns into a sexual discussion. And then there's I, Babe, directed by Stephen Brill, about this developing company that's having a meeting in their headquarters over their newly released product, I, Babe, which is literally this realistic replica of a nude woman who functions as an MP3 player. Oh my god, like, how in the world could several directors and several celebrities would live with themselves to star in this? And then there's the superhero speed dating one, where Jason Segel and Jocelyn are basically just playing dress up as Robin and Batman, and who go to a speed dating establishment seeking out a bomb threat to their nemesis Penguin. When Robin attempts to collect with various women through speed dating, including Lois Lane and Supergirl, Batman encounters one, apparently his ex in this version, Wonder Woman, and attempts to stop Penguin from detonating Supergirl. Yeah, like, God, really? Really? Movie? Have to ruin two great superheroes? Great. Thanks for completely insulting two good comic book characters. It's real nice. There is a public service announcement like Machine Kids, and then the next segment that plays this middle school date. We're about these middle school couple who are hanging out at one of their houses, and apparently the girlfriend gets a period and everyone freaks out in front of her over it. And everyone all thinks she's bleeding to death. Like, that is so stupid. And then there's a Happy Birthday, which is directed by Brett Ratner, and where these two guys capture a leprechaun who torture him for a pot of gold. Old Truth or Dare, which is directed by Peter Farrelly, about this woman and an Asian man named Donald who are dating at a Mexican restaurant, and they decide to play Truth or Dare, and we know how it pretty much goes. I don't know. It's like Victory's Glory, which is one of the very final segments. Victory's Glory, which is set in 1959. Coach Jack's about this basketball coach. And then we get to the number one worst of all these god-awful segments. They're all terrible segments, they're all unfunny, they're disgusting segments, but this one is low-key the worst. And it stars some talented people, and it's directed by a great director. This one actually plays during the credits, so. But the number one worst segment in this whole damn movie is Basil, which, believe it or not, is sadly directed by a legend himself, James Gunn. I never hear him speak of this, and I can tell why. Just play mid-credits. I'm going to explain this whole segment. It's about this woman named Amy who's engaged to a man named Anson, and who has an animated cat named Beazle coming in between the relationship. Beazle seems to detest Amy and anyone who comes between him and Anson, but Anson only sees Beazle as innocent. One day, Amy witnesses Beazle doing something to summer photos of Anson in a swimsuit. Beazle attacks her and violently pees all over her. But Anson still finds this horrendously horrific devil cat innocent. So, but caring more about his relationship, Anson is going to find a new home for him. And Beazle just tearfully watches the couple make love. The next day when it comes to take Beazle away, he's nowhere to be found, so Amy goes to find him, and Beazle runs over with a truck and attempts to shoot her to death with a shotgun. But she chases him into the street and begins beating him with a shovel, but get this, she apparently was doing this to a birthday party of children at a neighboring house. When Anson approaches to see what is happening, Amy tries to explain Beazle's motives. But Beazle acts innocent and Anson sides with the cat. And then, of course, the children of the party decide to stab Amy to death with plastic forks and murder her. Anson grabs Beetle, and of course we get another gross fantasy from Beazle. Man, poor James Gunn had to direct this piece of crap, but thankful God he redeems himself with Guardians of the Galaxy. But, so yeah, that is the number one worst segment of the whole film. Now let's just get to why this whole movie just sucks alone. This movie's title makes no sense. It's similar to this film called Action 52, and it was a result of one of the director's kids talking about an urban legend, sending a made-up movie with the same name, which the director regardlessly cooked the movie's name for the marketers of using. All the skits are so unfunny. Each skit literally hinders on only one joke and drags throughout the entire segment, meaning you may get 1 second of laughter, but a few minutes of boredom. I laughed never. Very bad acting from an all-star cast. Like, Richard Gere, who plays this boss in the I Babe segment, clearly looks so bored. Horrendous dialogue like, "Hey, guys, come check out this kid's weird pubes." Blandness shoved in product placement like Taco Bell, Apple, and a mention of Family Guy from Halle Berry's character in the Truth or Dare segment. Most of the jokes are just gross, disgusting, and Beazle the cat looks horrifying to watch. He looks more like a Garfield reject and is incredibly perverted, disgusting, demonic, and unlikable. You just want to murder this cat the minute you see him. Like, this is the cat of nightmares. This guy looks like frickin' Satan as a cat. It wastes many directors and talented people by giving them way too much screen time. Any other movies were using a large cast wisely, but this movie wasted it too much. The ending is abysmal. Terrible score from so many movie soundtrack composers like Christopher Beck, David Hodge, Leo Bernberg, Tyler Bates, Miles Moon, and William Goodrum. According to director Peter Farrelly, almost every one of the actors were all embarrassed by this whole movie that they wanted to quit during production. And here comes my next big concern. All the actors in this movie were actually blackmailed to star in it. They were promised a big sum of money, so they all came and filmed this piece of crap in their careers. If I was approached to star in this movie, I want to know the first thing I would do? I would grab a gun and I would just shoot myself if I had to star in this piece of crap or be associated with it. The movie even won 3 Razzie Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Director, and Worst Screenplay. But man, not only is this the worst movie of 2013, but it's the worst movie of all time. This was just awful to watch. Please, if you are sane, please don't go near this movie at all. This is not a comedy movie. This is basically a horror movie. Like, oh my god. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. Here's how I would rank it.
I'm gonna give movie 43 a 000 out of 10.
Well, with that, I finally finished this review. But man, I felt good to get that out of the way. Well, anyway, that'll be it for this review, guys. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, well then don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.